Possession-based football has been one of the common trends in football this season, especially during this era where we've had one of the best possession-based teams. And a key aspect of possession-based football is movement of the ball and retaining possession. This is one of the key tenets, and when talking about possession football, we cannot fail to discuss about Pep Guardiola. And Pep Guardiola is a possession dogmatic manager, and here is why. Guardiola does not just talk about possession as retaining of the ball, but says the objective is not to move the ball, but rather to move the opponent. So Guardiola utilizes possession as a tool of dragging and moving opponents to create spaces for his team in the pitch. And there are ways in which Guardiola does this, and there are mainly two ways he does this: creating spaces through possession, and one is playing in between the lines, positioning his key players in between the lines. His most attack-minded, intelligent players are positioned in between the lines, and that is the first aspect. The second aspect that Guardiola uses is playing through the channels, or what we call the half spaces. Playing through the channels is something that Manchester City have done to great effect, especially during Guardiola's entry in the Premier League, by using De Bruyne and David Silva, later De Bruyne and Gundogan. And you're going to know, how do you do this? How do you play in between the lines and play through the channels? That will be our topic of discussion during this video. But before we start our analysis today, I'd like you to go through our timeline and watch videos, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos. So teams normally arrange themselves in a defensive line, midfield line and attacking line, forming the blocks of a team. So a team can either press high up the pitch and leave spaces in behind to be exploited, or decide to drop their defense line deep and leave spaces between their defense and midfield lines, which can be exploited. When teams decide to compact that space in between the lines, this might create problems, since opposition attackers can shoot from range, and through deflections they are able to score goals. Therefore, the midfield might try to limit this threat, creating spaces in between the lines. So these spaces can either be attacked by wingers cutting in, and this is something that Liverpool did with great effect when playing the likes of Salah, Mane and Firmino in between the lines. And this, getting them with accurate passes through the midfield line, can be detrimental, since now they can run at the opposition defense, and this is a great threat to most teams. So occupying these spaces in between the lines is a great asset, since now the fullbacks will be concerned with players in between the lines and vacate the wide areas where they are able to be exploited. So teams such as Manchester City like to position their wingers high and wide to drag the fullbacks out, and position their creative players such as De Bruyne in between the lines where they can receive the ball and create play. Also, when players are in between the lines, when the midfield tries to come up and press the deeper pivots, the players in between the lines can receive the ball, and this gives time for the likes of Rodri and other defensive midfielders such as Busquets to effect the game. The position of the two midfielders in the half space channels creates tactical problems for the fullbacks, whether they should come out and press the wingers or leaving spaces in the half spaces, which can be exploited by these attacking players and score goals. Look at this clip here. You can see the way Aguero has dropped deep and he's dragging the opposition centre back out of position. Once Manchester City receives and progresses with the ball, now we have two players in between the lines, behind West Ham's defensive line. You can clearly see how when the pass is made to Sané, David Silva identifies the space, and the space has now been created in between the fullback and the center back. Zinchenko is able to run at this position and make that half space run. And this is one of the things that Manchester City has done effectively. Also on the other side, we can see Walker has pushed up as a result of Raheem Sterling coming in. So this position in between the lines and the position in the half spaces can be quite detrimental to teams. The half spaces are not fixed positions where on the pitch, but rather these are positions created when either the opposition fullback leaves and tries to cover the winger, creating spaces in between them. Some teams have tried to line up in a back five to mitigate this overload, but again Guardiola has come up with ways of overloading the back line by ensuring that he also inverts both his attacking midfielder as well as his winger, creating spaces where his overlapping fullbacks can occupy the wide areas, primarily Kyle Walker, who has done that effectively for Manchester City this season. This enables his wingers now to be the ones receiving the balls in the half spaces and attempt crosses for lethal attackers such as Haaland, and this is something that Phil Foden has done recently at Manchester City. From this clip here, you can see West Ham is having 5 players at the back, but the position of De Bruyne is making the run while Raheem Sterling has the ball. This is creating problems for the opposition winger. These problems are quite dangerous, especially when facing these teams. You need players such as De Bruyne as well as a technical creative player like Gundogan in these positions in between the lines. They are players who can receive the ball and orchestrate play from this position. Effective and technical players operating in between the lines can be the secret key for most teams. Also, we need to be keen and understand that a manager who understands these aspects, such as Guardiola and other managers such as Mauricio, Pochettino and Tuchel, can use this tactic to great effect and strengthen their teams. This has been our analysis for today. If you've stayed with us till the end, thanks for watching.